Ken Paxton strikes a deal to end a felony case against him without a trial.
Today marks the end of what, in our opinion, should have happened a long time ago.
We look closer at the deal to dismiss the case and why it's not the end of his legal troubles.
Those are all things that have to be discussed on how we're going to go in the future.
The leader of a special House investigative committee sets the stage for a hearing far from the Capitol on a mission to help the state prepare to fight wildfires. Plus, a state senator sends a warning to Texas colleges about a new law banning DEI efforts on campus, and it comes with a deadline for compliance.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Before he became the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton was accused of persuading investors to buy stock in a tech company without disclosing he was being compensated to do so. That led to felony charges for securities fraud in a case that dragged on for 9 years. On Tuesday, attorneys on both sides reached an agreement to dismiss the case. Our Monica Madden was in the courtroom to get details of the deal.
Attorney General Ken Paxton steps away from dismissal.
It's my understanding that the state and the defense have come to an agreement in this case.
In Harris County Court Tuesday, prosecution and defense presenting a fresh deal to end the 9-year-long case.
The contract is purely an agreement between you and the prosecutors on this case.
Within 18 months, Paxton will have to complete 100 hours of community service, 15 hours of legal ethics, and pay about $271,000 to the people he's accused of defrauding.
Our primary duty is to do justice and not to convict. So the question isn't whether or not who won, but was justice served. And I think the answer to that is unmistakably yes.
Prosecutors say it was the best way to get justice for the people affected.
And that provision mattered more to me than anything else.
Now the case is not fully dismissed yet. Paxton has 18 months to fulfill his end of the terms and also has to be doing regular check-ins with the prosecutors so they can double check that he is fulfilling his end of the bargain. Worth noting, the Attorney General cannot use campaign dollars or taxpayer dollars to pay that restitution.
He didn't plead. There is no admission of guilt. There will never be an admission of guilt because he's not guilty.
Paxton's defense team, including lawyers who helped exonerate him in last fall's Senate impeachment trial, claiming victory again.
Today marks the end of what, in our opinion, should have happened a long time ago.
The felony charges stem from 2015 indictments just before Paxton became AG. Change of venue, issues with prosecutors' pay, and even Hurricane Harvey contributed to the delays.
This case has been pending longer than the Beatles were together, literally. It's been 9 years.
Monica Madden, State of Texas.
Paxton issued a statement about the agreement to end the case without a trial. He wrote, "For over a decade, my family and I have been dealing with the ongoing stress of these accusations and are relieved to finally have a resolution in the matter." Paxton still faces a whistleblower lawsuit filed by former top deputies in his office. They were fired in 2020 after they raised concerns to the FBI that Paxton used his office to benefit Austin real estate developer Nate Paul. Paxton denied any wrongdoing. His impeachment trial last fall was based on the whistleblower's accusations. The Texas Senate cleared Paxton of all charges, but he was not required to testify under oath at the trial. For Insight, we're joined by Lauren McGaughy, an investigative reporter and editor with KUT News, Austin's NPR station. You've been covering Paxton's legal issues for years. This settlement came just a few weeks before Paxton was set to go to trial. Is this deal a surprise?
It was a surprise to a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's actually been 9 years since he was indicted. And the whole time we were expecting this to eventually end up in front of a jury. It was repeatedly stated, it was intended to. And so the fact that this deal was cut just about 3 weeks before trial, surprising to many, sure.
Why did it take so long to close the case?
You know, this case was delayed so many times. It's almost hard to remember how many stories I wrote about it over the years. But, you know, there was some acts of God that pushed it back, COVID, Hurricane Harvey. There was a significant delay over a side case dealing with how much the special prosecutor should get paid. And then Paxton's lawyers successfully pushed it back. I mean, they had several judges removed. Even in the final weeks, they argued that the whole case should be thrown out because Paxton's rights to a speedy trial had been violated. related. That was rejected, but that resulted in, like we said, almost a decade of delays in this case.
Wow, 9 years.
9 years, yeah.
Earlier in the program, we mentioned the whistleblower case against Paxton's office. Mm-hmm. Where does that stand now?
So currently, Paxton's office has argued that the whole case should go away. They actually said they would agree not to accept fault necessarily, but to accept the terms of some kind of a settlement, and that, let's put this thing to bed. The whistleblowers are saying, hold up a minute, we don't want that to happen. They want to see Paxton deposed. They want to see some of Paxton's top deputies in the agency be deposed, and so they want the case to remain active, and we're waiting on that answer.
Well, the whistleblower allegations also spawned an FBI investigation.
Yes.
Any new developments there?
Well, I guess maybe a little bit of exclusive news for your audience. I've spoken to sources in the last few months who were called in to speak with federal agents just at the end of last year. So this FBI investigation kicked off in November 2020. It's a long time ago, but we know that at least as of 4 months ago, it was still an active case. I do want to say, because this is something not a lot of people know, that the FBI has kind of this unspoken rule where if they're close to an election, they won't charge a political figure because they don't want to be seen as having some kind of influence on the election. So now that we're past the primary, there may be a window here, but if we get too close to November, even though Paxton isn't up for election, they may pause and break, and then we'll be 4 years out from the start of the investigation. Some questions about whether they would charge at that point.
Lauren, a scoop on State of Texas.
Well, I know my bosses are going to be like, what gives?
No, that's very interesting. We also saw Paxton have some success influencing primary elections with his endorsements this year. Are these legal issues actually making him more popular?
At least with the Republican primary voters in Texas, probably. He definitely is ascendant politically. He had the big win with beating his impeachment charges. Now he has this new win. He hasn't been funneling a lot of money into the candidates he's been backing, but some of them are still winning, even at a deficit with fundraising. Obviously, Donald Trump's endorsement has come into play with some of these, and that's helping as well. But he's riding high right now. I'm sure he's probably celebrating, and politically he's stronger than ever.
All right, well, don't put the pen or the typewriter or the computer away just yet. I have a feeling you've got some more stories to tell on this one.
Yes, I do.
All right, Lauren McGaughy, thank you very much for joining us.
Sure.
A judge in Travis County is pausing efforts from Attorney General Ken Paxton to get information from an LGBTQ+ group. The AG's office is trying to get information from PFLAG about how it supports Texas families seeking gender-affirming medical care for their children. Our Will Dupree went to the courthouse to learn why the state wants those documents.
A pair of lawyers from the Texas Attorney General's office left a courtroom without saying anything after the Travis County judge ruled against them.
These egregious attacks by the Attorney General's office is a bald-faced attempt to invade the privacy of the loving families and scare and bully people who want nothing more than to love their children.
Paxton's lawyers deny those allegations, saying his office sought the information as part of an insurance fraud investigation. They're looking into how doctors are trying to get around the state's ban on transition-related care for minors. The law went into effect last year, and doctors caught avoiding the ban could lose their medical licenses.
PFLAG is not a medical organization. PFLAG doesn't prescribe medication. They don't have doctors on staff.
The PFLAG legal team argued this is really retaliation for 2 lawsuits that are currently on hold. However, the AG attorneys said this is not end runs to get information that will help those other cases. A trial in this case is set for June 10th, but the judge signaled what that outcome might already be. She said PFLAG would, quote, likely prevail. PFLAG has 18 chapters in Texas with more than 1,600 members. However, the organization said Paxton's demands are having a chilling effect, meaning fewer people are going to support group meetings and some volunteers are stepping back. Will Dupree, State of Texas.
Lawyers from the AG's office said they would modify what they called sloppy language in their demands to PFLAG. They said they're not seeking any membership lists or member information.
Consequences for colleges. We go one-on-one with a state senator who's sending a warning about a new law banning diversity efforts on campus. And the largest wildfire in Texas history leads to a search for solutions. Lawmakers are taking that search to the Panhandle for a hearing with an eye on future threats.